Hello friends, my name is Bahroz and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will be sharing with you things that you should not be entirely truthful when it comes to your interview. Now, I always say that interview is one place where both parties are lying. The interviewer is lying about how great the job is, how strategic this job is, this role is, and without this role, the company will die, the company won't exist, and this is the most strategic role in terms of decision making, in terms of work and all. While at the same time, the interview is lying about how great they are, they're kind of selling themselves. So they're exaggerating a lot of stuff. They're kind of putting their best foot forward, right? So they're not being entirely honest in terms of who they are, mistakes they've made, and opportunities, and you shouldn't be. Rather, they are selling themselves and they're putting their best foot forward. So they're doing some or bringing about some exaggerations. Both of them are not true. So the interviewer, when they're selling the company, well, it's not entirely true because you will realize once you go into that particular role, you're just one cog in the wheel, and the company is not like the best company in the world. There might be other better companies in the world which you might be missing on, but they're selling their job, their company to you because they want you as a candidate, and you are selling yourselves to them just because you want this particular job. So kind of both the parties are lying, and hence I thought it would be nice to make this video and call out the things where you should not be entirely truthful, and it is okay to make some exaggerations. So number one is kind of exaggerating or lying about your title. The idea is you need to stop letting your job title undersell you, right? So if you are a coordinator doing a managerial level work, talk about the work you actually own. Your title tells someone what HR called you, but your accomplishment tells the individual in front of you actually what you do. So there are many companies, big or small, where at times the title doesn't go in line with the work that you're doing. So again, you might be called a coordinator, but you're a manager. You might be called a manager, but essentially the work that you're doing is a senior manager level work. And this is something you can easily calibrate based on the job description, based on how others on LinkedIn that you see who kind of hold the same job description but have a higher title. So you kind of have an idea. You have friends in other companies as well. You can even talk to the recruiters and they can give you an idea of the kind of scope of work that you have, what level and where it lies. So if it's a managerial level work and you're called a coordinator in the company, well, it's okay to put on the resume. Even on the resume, it doesn't have to be the interview itself. Even on the resume, you can put a title which again is not a lie, but can go to define the work that you're doing. So I'll give an example. Let's say if you are a director in a company, right? You're a director in a company, you're a director doing a particular role. However, if the kind of work that you're doing is far bigger than the title that is given to you, you can simply say head of. Now, head of could be anything. Head of could be director, could be VP, could be SVP, could be whatever, right? So you kind of change the title in a way where you sell yourself or oversell yourself. Again, you're kind of exaggerating. So you don't need to call yourself as a manager. You can just say head of or leader of, something like that. Head of is typically a safer way to do it. So don't let your title define you. Let your job define you and or your accomplishments, and hence talk about them. The second piece that I want you to be careful is lying about, for instance, why you're leaving, or exaggerating why you're leaving, or again, not being truthful about why you're leaving. So even if your boss is terrible, your company is toxic, you're underpaid, you're burned out, maybe all of that is true, but don't say any of it. Your next employer isn't hiring you to hear why you hate your current company. Rather say, I've learned a lot in my current role and I am ready for the next challenge, and then just move on. So you don't need to talk about the bad stuff from your current job altogether. And even if they go about asking you what are the things that you don't like about your current role, make it very diplomatic answer. Like, don't pick on someone, don't pick on the company and talk about that. Rather talk about what opportunities you saw, what are the things that could have been done better. Now, one important call out, in case you're interested in improving your resume in a way that you put your best self forward in the resume, or get the maximum chance for your resume to be shortlisted either by a human themselves or through an automatic AI or ATS system. Well, I have a website which I kind of scanned on the web, and I found this particular website where they help you prepare your resume in a way that it gets you selected and gets you called for an interview, which is kind of getting the step in the door, right? So in case you're interested, you can check out that particular website. I have made use of that website for myself as well and for the individuals that I regularly coach. Number three is talking about your 5-year plan. Even if you don't have a 5-year plan, just make up a 5-year plan, right? So maybe you want to start a business. So let's say that's your 5-year plan. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you have absolutely no idea altogether, right? So that's okay. But when they ask where you see yourself in 5 years, they're not really asking for your life plan, right? So they're asking, are you going to leave us or not? Or what do you plan to do in the company or with your role, with your job in the company. So they're kind of seeing if your 5-year marries with the 5-year plan they have, or do they see you growing in the company altogether. So give them a future that shows growth with them, not an exit strategy altogether. Now moving on to fourth one, whenever asked how you're doing, and it's typically asked in the beginning of the interview. When the interview starts, they go like, how are you doing? So don't tell them about how terrible the morning was, that the traffic was awful, you barely slept. Your answer should still be, I'm great, thank you, and how are you doing? Because the interview starts before the first interview questions. Like before the first interview question is asked, the interview has already started. The moment you join the room, or you join the live room or physical room altogether, the interview has started. So they're not just evaluating your skills, they're evaluating how you show up in the interview as well. Number 5 is lying about your boss. Yes, you should lie about your boss. Never trash your current manager, because you don't know who you're talking to, and you definitely don't know who they know, right? So the thing you call a micromanager today might be a management style of the person sitting across from you. So if you go like, hey, my previous manager was not good because he was a micromanager, and this interviewer is going like, I am a micromanager. Oh, so it won't go well. Don't hand someone a reason to reject you. I remember someone I interviewed, and they talked about how bad their boss was. And eventually what happened is I had to talk to their boss to get some recommendation for that particular individual. Because when you start talking bad about your boss, I want to know what's the truth, right? Is the issue with the boss. So next one is lying about why you want the job. Don't say, I love your mission, I've always admired your values, I've been a huge fan of your company. These are very shallow answers. Everyone says them, right? So instead tell them, here's what I understand your team is trying to accomplish, and here is how my experience can help you get there. And the best way to know about what the team is trying to accomplish is when you talk to the recruiter, ask them, what are the biggest business challenges, or what are the biggest organizational challenges you guys are solving for? So that way you know what challenges they are solving for, and come up with an answer of how you can be part of solving those challenges. So stop interviewing like you're asking to be chosen. Interview like two sides are deciding whether they can create value together or not. Number 7 is lying about your weakness. This is a question that typically you will get in an interview. Tell me what your weaknesses are, or they're looking for the weakness one way or the other. Tell me about your failure, tell me about opportunity, tell me about a feedback that you received previously, or negative feedback, or an opportunity feedback with regards to an opportunity in you that you receive from your manager or colleague. So they may try to fish for what your opportunities are. Well, the reason they want to ask is they want to be sure that you are aware of yourself. You have self-awareness. You know what your strengths are. You know what your weaknesses are. But again, you need to make sure that you give a good, a strong answer, and not come across as someone who is just failing all the time, who has weaknesses which are something they're not looking for. And you tell them, hey, here are my weaknesses, and they're like, oh, this is exactly what we don't want. So let's not hire this individual. Now here it is also important to make sure you don't call out a shallow weakness, right? So for instance, I care too much, or I work too hard, I am a perfectionist. These are very shallow kind of answers. We've heard them all, right? So they go like, everyone gives these answers. Don't turn your weakness into a humble brag altogether. Like, give them something real, explain what you've learned, and show what you're doing differently. Self-awareness is more impressive and then you're just pretending you're perfect, right? But make sure that whatever you call as weakness, or whatever you call as an opportunity or as a failure, should not be something which is detrimental to the organization. It should be something which is not a big failure in your life. It just happened and you kind of managed it and came out of it and learned something. So make sure you have a weakness which is not detrimental to your previous organization and is not detrimental to the organization that is trying to, or that is hiring you or you're interviewing for. Now here, let me make a call out. In case you are interested in getting one-to-one coaching from me for interview taking, then you can book a session with me using the link that I will leave in the description of this video. I coach numerous individuals on a weekly basis. So in case that is of interest to you, to have live interview coaching sessions because you are preparing for an interview, well, I can have a mock interview with you. In case you are wondering what do I cover in that session, well, there are multiple videos on my channel where I've recorded those sessions, so you can check them out as well and have a fair idea altogether. Next piece where you want to lie is lying about your resume gap. That gap isn't a secret, right? They will see through the resume. They already saw it and they still invited you. So don't walk into the interview acting like you're on a trial. Explain it simply, like on to it, move on. The gap isn't necessarily the problem. Your insecurity about the gap can be a problem, but you need to explain, okay, you had a gap. what were you doing during that time, so you kept yourself engaged and you kept learning about the industry, about your work, about your field altogether. So you were always engaged into the work or into the role that they're hiring you for. Now, the next lie is about your hobbies. And here, make sure you don't give them a hobby, give them a story. And don't give them a hobby which is not productive. Like, I like watching TV. It tells nothing about you, and you don't look good either. Like, if you say, I like reading books, that's much better. But here, even now, you're not telling a story. So, for instance, you can say, I've been restoring my bike or my motorbike. So there's a 1970s motorbike I've been restoring it in my garage. Or I work on my YouTube channel. I coach people how to give or deliver interviews, and I train them. So that could be another kind of hobby or side work that you do. Tell them how you're contributing, what you're doing, and tell them a story versus just saying, hey, I read books, I watch TV. It's not like that. And watching TV is a bad example to begin with. Your hobby can quietly communicate your curiosity, your discipline, creativity, or persistence. So again, you use this question as well to sell yourself. Your resume tells them what you do at work. Your hobbies tell them who you are when nobody is paying you. And typically, the best time to talk about your hobby is when you're introducing yourself. I have a separate video on how you should go about introducing yourself. You can check it out on my channel. But one thing that I say, that when you're introducing yourself, take 5 to 10 seconds talking about something personal. And it could be a hobby that you would want to talk about, just to strike a conversation with the interviewer where you can start to either relate to them or make the conversation not Q&A, but something where you're telling them about yourself. Last but not the least, lie when they ask you if you have a question. Like, never say, no, I think you've covered everything. That's a conversation killer. Ask something that makes them picture you in the job. What would you want the person in this role to accomplish in the first 90 days? That's a good question. Or what does success look like for an individual joining this role? Or, as I said, what are the challenges that you're working on? And make sure when you ask this question, it's not a question where you ask them a question and you are like, oh, okay, I get it. No, it should be a question where you strike a conversation. So they give you answer and then you go like, oh, that's a good, I understand what you're telling me, or thank you for telling me about the challenges. And here is how I suggest you should be solving these challenges. Or I've had similar experience in my past life, and this is how I can add value, or how you can learn from kind of the experience I have. So make it also a point to sell yourself, even when they ask you to ask questions. Typically, you think, I'm just asking questions, they'll deliver an answer and that's it. No, strike a conversation and try to sell yourself again during this last 5 minutes as well. And again, the idea is that you're not just answering questions. You're already thinking like the person who got the job, and hence you're striking a conversation altogether. Anyhow, interviews aren't about telling every truth, right? So they're about telling the right truth. Same person, same experience, same skills, different framing, different outcome. So make sure you prepare yourself before you go in an interview. There are many people I've come across who go like, oh, we'll just talk about whatever we know and we'll be just honest and we'll be ourselves. Be yourself. No, that's a bad idea. Don't be yourself, because if you be yourself, you'll make a lot of mistakes. You may present yourself as a person who is not suited for the job just because you're being yourself. I'm not myself at the job. I'm the self which will help me succeed at my role. Now, obviously, it is not too different from what my original self is, so I can live with it. But in an ideal scenario, if I start being myself, then probably I'll get fired tomorrow. Now here, let me make a call. In case you find any value from this video, please press the like button. This keeps me motivated in order for me to improve the quality and quantity of the content that I publish on this channel. And more importantly, subscribe to the channel, because on this channel, I publish content pertaining to how you can achieve success in your career. So not just about interview taking, but also how you can achieve success in your career. And again, if that is of interest to you, you want to learn more about how you can ace in your career, well, as I said, you can book a session with me using the link that I will leave in the description of this video. Anyhow, hopefully this video was helpful. And in case it was, please do write in the comment as well. Thank you.